All right, we are back on another podcast. It's been, how long has it been? Months, maybe? But,
Yeah,
uh,
months.
yeah, but the two of us had a lot of life stuff going on. So we do apologize for the long break, but it's time to return. And I'm here with your boy Ghost and
Yeah,
myself, Zense.
yo,
And
if my mic is not so good, just forgive me.
yeah,
My
yeah.
mic is currently damaged, so forgive me.
Yeah, but we still wanted to put something out there because it's been a while since people actually heard us speak. But this, what we wanted to talk about is kind of piggybacking off of what we were already talking about in Discord. It's just the kind of mentality you should have when playing fighting games. We had a really fun discussion, and I feel like maybe some of the viewers might benefit off of hearing it. So, yeah, Ghost, I was telling you, everything when it comes to fighting games is just based off of like your battle for supremacy, in my opinion. I think the moment you're trying to, and I was telling Ghost this before, but the moment you end up falling into somebody's game plan, I think that's when you start to lose,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So, like I was telling you that, for example, there's I think the two most annoying archetypes has to be zoning and mix. I think zoning
Yeah,
and yeah, what you were saying?
yeah. No, we're just saying yeah for different reasons, but yeah,
For different reasons, yeah, because my philosophy is like say for example, in real life, I like people to feel comfortable around me for the most part. But if I'm playing and I'm going head to head competing, it's the opposite. I want people to feel like there's ants in their pants or some shit. I want people to feel a sense of unfamiliarity. I want people to feel uncomfortable. I want people to feel antsy. So
yeah.
yeah, that's why I was telling you.
Like,
I
I'm not crossing you, but there's a particular like fighting style that people don't like.
yeah, for different
A fighting
reasons.
style that like random. Like when someone say, "Yo, you're too random." Let me tell you something. Like being random is actually a very strategic way to play. You should never be too uniform to where you're doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, well, it's
Like there should be a level of randomness. So like people try to like criticize people like being random, but they're actually playing smart, but they're not. So
yeah. I feel like some people that's just actually be random.
no, it's true. It's true. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Like some people fall into traps and do the same shit over and over. But like when you actually apply awareness to your random play style, that's when you become the most dangerous.
it's like organized chaos.
But if you're random, your opponent can't make a read on what you're doing, and they're frustrated by that.
Yeah, well, that's why I was telling you. In my opinion, it's not an ego kind of thing, but in my opinion, I don't think there's anybody that should be, in theory, better than me in fighting games. Of course, there's people that are better than you. There's always people above you and below you. But I feel like with enough time and dedication, you should be able to beat anybody. Because at the end of the day, you are a human being. You don't
Well, it
you
just
don't know
comes
what I'm
down to the
thinking.
level. It just comes down to the level of hunger too. Like if you're really hungry for it, you're gonna get it done.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and well, it's the quality
Yeah,
of your training too. But in terms of like
yeah,
the mentality, I'm saying that okay, I'm a human being, that person is a human being. It's my brain versus your brain. The decisions we make, it all boils down to the end result. All those micro decisions come to one thing. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. Now, the fact that you don't know what I'm thinking and I don't know what you're thinking,
yeah.
I see everybody as an equal. That's my mentality. I see everybody as an equal because we really don't know. We can take calculated guesses, right?
Yeah.
Based on like habits, conditioning, whatever. But at the end of the day, we still don't know what each other is really thinking.
That's why like as you said at the beginning too, the moment you fall into someone genjutsu, you lost.
Yeah, because you're playing their game plan. So that's why I was saying, like,
Yeah.
if you're fighting a zoning character, you some characters have a more
And they're
dominant
not
place.
crossing you, but just
Uh,
on that point too, like that's why rush like being random is so annoying because it's very hard to condition someone that don't know what they're doing when they're random.
yeah, well, that's why sometimes higher level players lose to randoms.
Yeah.
Because you're when you play at a certain level, you're expecting that person to adapt because you yourself have been conditioned by higher level players.
Yeah.
Then comes this random idiot out of nowhere. You hit the man with like five overheads and he's still blocking low. Then you go for a low starter that's unsafe. He blocks low and he punishes you.
Yeah.
So sometimes you could be so in your head that you make an overly calculated move and your opponent makes a dumb move and the dumb move wins. That can happen. So you,
That's
you,
true.
you, you can't really take it too seriously. But yeah, the fact that nobody really knows what each other is thinking, I see it as like equal grounds.
Yeah.
The only time it becomes uneven is say if you start to incorporate like matchup knowledge into it. If I realize that you don't know how to punish a certain character specifically for some situations and
Yeah.
things like that, yeah. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the mentality, there's so much more that goes into it because then you have conditioning.
Which is another form of like as we say genjutsu. You never want to be conditioned.
The thing is, it's not a matter of not being conditioned, you know. You can be conditioned, but players at a high
Yeah.
level choose their conditioning. You know? Like,
Well, that no. Well, you explained it way better than I did. So
yeah.
yeah, go with that.
Like, the thing
Yeah.
is, say for example, somebody's coming to grab me. Now, after a couple grabs, I'm going to think, okay, yeah, I'll take the grab. But if I know that person is trying to condition me with grabs, then obviously a shimmy is going to come at some point, right?
Yeah.
Because they're expecting, it's kind of like, I know you know that I know. So I can choose because I know, and still, I don't really know, but it's a calculated guess. Because I know what's coming after the grabs, because they thinking that I'm going to adapt, I can just choose to take the throw. I can choose to take the throw. They will come, they will try and shimmy me, and I'll just get out of pressure for free.
You know, like you gotta choose the lesser of two evils. Sometimes you just gotta be like, yo, if I'm gonna die to something, I'm gonna die to throws. You know what I mean? Like just say, yo, throw kill me if you gotta kill me, bro. But I'm not getting opened up by this shimmy. Cause I realize that even a habit that I have to that I fall into sometimes is that I try to guess everything instead of just staying my ground on something. And by me trying to guess everything, I end up like giving up a lot of like unnecessary turns.
Yeah,
Cause I'm trying to like my mind is like bunny hopping from from grab to overhead to low to shimmy to no like yo just block low and say you know what if he hit me with the overhead he hit me with the overhead.
yeah.
So
But you
you
have
gotta
to,
accept that you can't be right on everything. Nobody's right on everything
yeah, that's okay. That's okay. You
because you
just,
want to be a perfectionist, but at the same time, boy,
a good fight is like a dance. A lot of the times we want it to be our way the whole fight. It's not gonna always work out like that. Things
yeah,
are going to happen where it's in your opponent's favor, and then you just have to deal with it as the match goes on. But if you're going to make a decision, that's what I was telling you. if you're gonna make a decision. Do not make a decision, because in my opinion, if you make a decision, it's a win-win situation. You make a good decision and it works. You make a bad decision and guess what? You could learn from that in future. But if you freeze up and you make no decision, your opponent will just steamroll you and you'll not even realize why you died.
Yeah. That's
So,
why when I go into matchups that like I'm nervous about or I don't know much about, I overly attack. I press buttons because I need to see what work from what don't work. I can't just constantly keep blocking. I'm gonna get hit a lot because I'm trying to find answers rather than just block, block, block. You know what I mean? Some people just get blocking too much.
yeah, some of it is just active labbing.
Be willing to press. You don't know, be willing to press.
Yeah,
Cause
sometimes you can just lab on the fly.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I'm not really a lab master. Like I'm not a person to go in the lab and practice. I just practice in match. Like I'm a press. You better believe I'm a press on your plus frames to see if there's an answer out of it or like what armor, something like. If it don't work, then at least I know it don't work because I tried multiple times. So that's on to the next. That's how I lab. I lab during the match. I'm not a
Yeah.
person that like to go into the lab and sit down. Once in a while, yes, I do. I do. But it's very rare that I go into the lab and sit down actually labbing shit. Uh,
Yeah, I used
I
to be
just
like
learn
that.
on the map.
I used to be like that at one point. I was more of an infield person, but then I became more of a lab monster as I got older.
But let me show you when it comes to like in game and the lab. It's better to be on the field and get the experience one time most of the times. Because when you go in the lab and you practice against a dummy, yes, you might understand what you need to do. But then when you in a match when that person is going to mental stat you with other shit, what you just learn in the lab, you might not even be able to apply right away, even though you practice it like crazy. Because there's so much other things too that on your mind. Because the person is grabbing you, they're doing this, they're like, so it's just the knowledge, and you can
Well,
learn that during the match by trying to figure things out by pressing buttons. Oh, I got killed here for pressing a button, then I know not to press a button again. Maybe I just need to press another button because this button, my fastest button or arm or something. DP, you know. So
well,
don't freeze up. Freezing up is,
yeah,
it's a balance. You don't want to over attack or over, you know, be
overextend
defensive.
or over defensive. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
balance. But what I was telling you is the labbing system in fighting games nowadays, they're a lot better. You can lab scenarios a lot better, but
yeah,
nothing is as good as the infield. Infield is all the practice. It should make up the majority of your practice, I think, because
yeah,
you can lab something to a T, and your opponent. You have to remember that your opponent is aware that you are labbing them too. You know. I feel like anytime I
yeah.
beat somebody, especially based off of knowledge checks, my mindset is already, yeah, he's probably going to go and lab that. So the next time I fight you, I always feel like I have to surprise you with something else. Or I might be holding back something from you. So if I fight you again, I can whip it out on you.
And even sometimes when you lab too, it's not always like physical like matchup thing. Like yo, I lab too mentally. Like I just sit down and keep replaying the match in my head to know where I went wrong.
Yeah, you can do that
Keep
too.
thinking of my mistakes too, like what you call it, visualization.
Yeah,
Just
image training.
like I sit down like sometimes when a loss really bother me, I sit down and meditate on that loss, you know, and I just lab that way too, cause maybe it wasn't really a matchup thing or whatever. It just my decision making was off that day, and I felt it. Cause every day you can be on point, you know. So
Yeah, that's why I was telling you. It's funny you said on point because you might think one day. Now you have to remember that we're human beings. It's a human nature thing. Some days you might feel like you're not on point, but it's not the fact that you're not on point, or you're having a bad day. The person you're fighting might just be having a better day than you.
yeah,
So,
but
like,
that's the thing.
uh,
I At some point when you get to that level of self-awareness, you're gonna know when you on point and your opponent also on point, and you're gonna know when you're having a bad day. You're gonna be at that level because they have days where I'm on point, my opponent is on point, and I'm losing, but I'm not necessarily mad in that sense because I'm like, yo, this man is legit outplaying me, and I'm not making stupid decisions. The man is just making better decisions. I'm
Fun,
making good decisions. He's making better decisions. You know, so
funny
like,
enough, I think you can. It's a little easier to tell if the two of y'all are on point
mhm,
than if you're having a bad day, because you know when you're playing your heart out for real. But sometimes like the ego could get in the way, and you could say, maybe I'm just having a bad day, or whatever it is, whatever it is, whatever it is. But I think sometimes it's a bit more apparent that okay, you're on point, he's on point, and may the best man win kind of thing. It just
yeah.
depends. It's never, the thing about psychology is it's never consistent.
It never come. You see, that's the thing. When two people, as you said earlier, when I said that you explain it better, right? You
Uh,
said that at some point you still getting conditioned. You just got to choose where you get conditioned by.
yeah, you're going to get
Two
conditioned.
players that on a high level that both got the ability to adapt. What they be doing is just constantly breaking the conditioning.
Yeah,
They get conditioned and they break it, and then they condition you by they breaking your conditioning.
yeah.
So then you just gotta try to break back their conditioning so you can start conditioning them again. And that's how matches go down like to 10-9, 10-8, like close matches like 3-2 in tournament. They're just constantly adapting, but that don't mean that what one person is doing is not working.
To be
You
honest
know,
with
because
you,
sometimes you see people be down like 9-0 in combat and win the whole set, or like 2-0 in combat and win 3-2 in tournament and shit. Like just like that after they just got like look like they were getting dominated, you know.
I
It
feel
does take
like
a while to get the download, but you got to be aware of like, you know.
I feel like the majority of fighting games, in terms of psychological warfare, it's just conditioning. Like
Life
people,
is conditioning you. You
yeah,
need to learn
life
how
is
to break the
conditioning. Yeah,
conditioning.
yeah,
Anything can condition you.
yeah. Well,
Anything.
some people come in. Some people come in with preconditioning. Like sometimes somebody might come and fight you, and they never fought you before, but because you're an UMAC player, they just expect you to force push,
Yeah.
and then you don't, and then you
That's
don't.
the thing too. A lot of people they say, oh, all you do is force push and shit. But if people really notice something, I hardly use force push. That's why I mainly got 2 to 3 bars out of the damn time.
Yeah,
Yes, some rounds I do it, or some matches I do it more than not be than I don't because I mean, oh, that's part of conditioning my opponent. But yo, and just the fact that I know people expecting me to force push, I don't do it because I just get free pressure because people just gonna block.
it's
It's
funny.
simple as
It's
that.
funny how, and this is another. That's why sometimes I kind of relate fighting games to life. It's funny how the absence of something makes it more apparent. The fact that you're not using force push as much makes people think about it more. It's weird. You only used it about once or twice, and then
Hmm.
you decided to not use it as much, and it's so much in people's head. It's kind of like a like the mind games behind the scarcity of it or the rarity of it. I think people remember something that's rare easier. I'm not saying that you don't do it at all. Obviously you have to do it because to plant the seed of conditioning. I think you have to plant the seed of conditioning and then that seed germinates into fear.
Yeah, that's something that you used to do against me a lot in fighting games that used to annoy me. Like we would play a whole game and then at the end you would just do some random move that you never did before. I'm like, yo, bro, what the fuck was that? You know, so like,
And then I'll just not
yeah,
do it
that.
again.
And then you would not just do it again. I'd be looking out for the next round, like the next game at the end or some shit. I know because I'm looking out for it, I freeze up in my thinking, and you hit me with some dumb shit like a grab.
Yeah.
Obviously, something obvious. So like, yeah.
It's a girl in the room thing because there's this psychology video that I look at from time to time where you have a couple of is it kids or whatever, they're throwing a basketball, and in the video they will tell you count the amount of times that the basketball gets thrown to and fro. Um, and while you're hyper focused on the basketball, there's this guy that comes in with a gorilla suit. He'll beat his chest a couple times, like 3 times, and then he'll walk off. And people are so hyper focused on the basketball that
Hmm.
they honestly don't see. So it's like, and it's funny because I've tested that same video on some people too, and
Hmm.
the video works. I don't want to sound messed up, but the video works if you have an actual attention span. Because if you're hyper focused, if you're actually trying to focus on that basketball and you've never seen that
Hmm.
video before, you're not gonna see the gorilla. But if you're a bit like if your focus is not tunnel visioned, which is how it should be, you should be focused, but your focus should not be tunnel visioned. There's a
Yeah.
balance. So, but I feel like people unconsciously don't have tunnel vision when they look at the video because they're just not paying attention generally. But they see the gorilla because they're not hyper focused on the basketball, and that's how you have to be when you play fighting games. So that's why I say at the highest level, it's not that they don't get conditioned, but I think they choose their conditioning. They choose what to get.
Yeah.
They weigh out the risks. Like for example, a grab again. A grab is like 12-15%. You have about 70-ish% health. You could take a couple grabs. You don't have to go and tech every throw, and you know, you just
Yeah.
chill, relax. You could take a couple grabs. Some people get nervous at the fact that, oh boy, I got grabbed like 3 times in a row. That's a bit embarrassing. Don't let your ego beat you up.
Hmm.
The ego can be a double-edged sword. It can cut for you, but it can also cut you too. So you could take a couple grabs. Probably do the
Yeah.
same thing to him. See how he reacts to it. So it all
No.
depends.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta do what they do, they do you back to them, like
Yeah, some people don't
rather than
handle.
through it.
Yeah, some people don't handle the taste of their own medicine as well.
Yeah.
So you can also mirror their behavior. It's another psychology trick that you can use. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
like fight, and that's why I like fighting games because in a way it keeps me sharp in a friendly way. It makes me aware to the kind of mind games people play with each other, and there's certain things about it that you can actually use in real life.
A
Certain,
lot of things.
yeah, there's a lot of things
A
that you
lot
can
of things
use.
about it.
Yeah,
The strategic side, how to approach things. Like, you know,
it
that
just
like in real life. That telling you know what fighting games taught me.
uh
Yo, bro, if I run into a guy that is 6'7", dog, muscular, like, and I'm a small, slim guy, you think that I'm gonna go to that guy hand to hand? You know what? You know what my play style is? Hit and run like Scorpion. I
it's
want to
a
get in and get out and keep my distance. So why would you want to fight someone that twice your size up close? Like fighting games are the same thing when it comes to characters. That's why your characters have tools. Like some characters good up close, some characters good away. So
yeah.
that's why archetypes and matchups in fighting games would never go away. You would never see a fighting game with even matchups. It's impossible.
It's impossible. That's why I was telling you the
And and the
balance.
devs
Uh,
and the devs trying to create that is the reason why a lot of fighting games these days are being watered down, ruined, and like like too much. I don't know of the same thing. I should say
I,
is
it's it's tricky to be a dev because You make a game that's fun, and people today will complain that it's broken. So you make a game that's balanced, quote unquote balance, and people will complain that it's watered down. So the
No,
devs,
but
the
this is the
devs
thing.
themselves are being conditioned, but the devs need to learn to choose their conditioning as well.
No, that's the thing. That's understandable, but this is really real problem is if MK started as a franchise by being broken and you got into MK because it was broken, or you even coming afterwards years later and this is what you come here and see, don't expect it to change. That should be the dev's mentality. MK was always a broken game, it's gonna remain a broken game. That's
Well,
it. Like what you trying to make MK like Street Fighter or just for example. So like with the devs in that sense, they need to know like yo, stop going away from your root. This was your roots. Go back to your roots. Stop trying to let people come in with their fucking opinion and water every shit down. Like I said, everything can't be over the top. There's a limit to being busted, you know. But at the same time, they're doing too much. But I don't
well,
want to go on about that too because this is about philosophy, fighting games, 101. You know, so
the thing about it is, the devs themselves have their own philosophies. But what I've learned, especially because we're talking about psychology here, and
mm,
what I learned about human psychology is from an evolutionary standpoint, it takes a while for people to get conditioned to something. But when they do, they get hardwired for it. That's why they say human beings are creatures of habit. So, if you introduce your franchise a certain way and it's been known for a certain thing, mind you, I'm just piggybacking off of what you said just to complete that point. Uh,
mm,
but if you are introducing a franchise a certain way and you're making people grow accustomed to it, you have to understand that if you're introducing harsh changes, there's always going to be pushback and retaliation. You're always going to be met with pushback and retaliation.
mm,
Human beings, people, they don't adapt to change, well, sudden change. It needs to be done over time, slowly, in increments. So there's nothing wrong with changing the formula, but it's how you do it. And that's why, in terms of the philosophy, because we're talking about philosophy,
yeah, yeah,
the thing about changing MK every game, you alienating your player base. All right. So
yeah.
that's just what I wanted to wrap off on the philosophy of the devs, really. But it was really supposed to just be a conversation about the mentality of
Well,
players.
I feel like this is just a little short episode. I mean, we said what we had to say. There's gonna be more for sure.
Well, yeah,
Like
there's
look out for more like philosophy. This is not the only one, but we don't want to drag it on too long. 'Cause, you know, people attention span these days. So
well the
I feel it
beauty
should be a good length to give people, bits and pieces here and there. Come with another episode.
the beauty of YouTube is that you can always skip around if you hear something interesting, then you can stick to that point. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just been a tonight has just been a free flowy kind of night because we were already talking about on a Discord call the mentality you should have when you engage in fighting games. So we just wanted to make our points known. And it's been a while since we've done a podcast, so we didn't want to kind of like the devs alienate you to our fans. So thank you for your
Yeah, man.
patience, that's for sure. Thank you for your patience.
All right, bro. All right. Have a good one, Pete.
Yeah,
Cool.
please. Well, we'll see you on the next podcast and peace.